Subscribe to Infidelity Tales Lab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Marvin Mead had always considered himself an average man living an extraordinary life. Not extraordinary in the way movies portrayed. No secret agent past or hidden millions. Extraordinary because at 42, he'd managed something rare, genuine contentment. His architecture firm in suburban Portland had just landed the Morrison Tower project. His marriage to Audrey remained solid after 17 years, and his son Casey, now 16, had somehow survived adolescence without becoming a complete stranger. That Tuesday morning, Marvin remembered pouring coffee while Casey inhaled pancakes at the kitchen counter, thumbs flying across his phone screen. "Dad, can I borrow the car Friday?" Casey asked between bites. "There's this photography exhibit downtown Jake wants to check out." "Photography?" Marvin raised an eyebrow. "Since when are you into that?" "Since I need an elective credit and Mrs. Fletcher's class looked easy." Casey grinned, that familiar smirk that reminded Marvin of his own younger brother Dale. The same cocky confidence that either charmed you or made you want to punch him. Marvin hadn't thought about Dale in months. They'd made an agreement 6 years ago. No contact unless absolutely necessary. Dale's business made that essential. Some brothers sold insurance. Dale Mead sold something far more permanent. "Ask your mother about the car," Marvin said, watching his son gather his backpack. "And Casey? Try actually learning something in that class. Might surprise you." Casey rolled his eyes but smiled as he headed out. "Love you too, old man." Those were the last words Marvin heard his son speak for 3 days. The first 24 hours of Casey's absence felt more like annoyance than alarm. Teenagers pushed boundaries. Audrey called his friends. Jake Blake hadn't seen him since school. The photography exhibit story checked out. Casey had mentioned it to multiple people, but his phone went straight to voicemail. His social media went dark. By day 2, Marvin's architect's mind, trained to see patterns and structural flaws, began assembling darker possibilities. Casey wasn't rebellious. He didn't do drugs, didn't run with rough crowds. He was a good kid who occasionally forgot to text back, not someone who vanished without a trace. Detective Terrence Davenport had the demeanor of a man counting days until retirement. He sat across from Marvin and Audrey in the police station, tapping a pen against a nearly empty notepad. "Mr. and Mrs. Mead, I understand you're worried, but statistically, most teenage disappearances resolve themselves within 72 hours. Kids need space. They make impulsive decisions." "Casey isn't impulsive," Audrey interrupted, her voice cracking. She'd barely slept. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. "Something happened to him. I know my son." Davenport's expression softened slightly. "Ma'am, we've checked hospitals, accident reports. His friends claim they don't know anything. No signs of foul play. No witnesses. Without evidence of a crime. This falls into runaway protocol. We've issued a BOLO, checked his banking activity. Has there been any?" Marvin leaned forward. "No transactions since Monday evening. Gas station purchase, $8.47. Davenport consulted his notes, which actually supports the runaway theory. Kid takes cash, goes off-grid for a bit. He had $12 in his wallet, Marvin said quietly. "I know because he hit me up for $20 Monday night. I gave him 15. He wouldn't get far on $27. Davenport shrugged. "Maybe he's crashing with someone. First love, family drama we don't know about. These situations usually involve a catalyst." Marvin felt Audrey's hand grip his arm. He stood jaw tight. "Thank you for your time, detective." Outside the station, Audrey finally broke. "They're not doing anything. They think he just ran away from us. Like we're bad parents." Marvin pulled her close, his own fear masked by necessity. "Someone had to stay functional. They're wrong. We find him ourselves if we have to." That evening, Marvin stood in Casey's bedroom, searching for clues Davenport had dismissed. Band posters on walls, sketches scattered across a desk. Casey did have talent, despite his protests about the easy elective. A laptop password protected, normal teenage chaos. Then Marvin noticed something. Casey's camera was gone. The decent DSLR they'd bought him last Christmas, rarely used despite the photography class excuse. Why would a runaway take a camera? Marvin checked the closet, the drawers. Casey's hiking backpack was missing too. Not the school bag found abandoned in his locked car at the school parking lot, but the larger pack he used for camping trips. It was planned, or someone wanted it to look planned. The envelope appeared the next morning, Wednesday, slipped under their front door while they slept. No postmark, no return address. Just their names handwritten in crude block letters. Audrey found it first. Her scream brought Marvin running downstairs. The note inside was printed, impersonal, terrifying. We have Casey. $2 million in unmarked bills. Instructions to follow. No police or he dies. You have 72 hours. Beneath the words was a photograph, time-stamped from yesterday. Casey, bound to a chair in what looked like a basement. His left eye was swollen, a cut above his eyebrow. But he was alive, staring at the camera with defiance rather than fear. Audrey collapsed into sobs. Marvin held the photo with steady hands despite the rage building in his chest. His architect's mind kicked in automatically, analyzing details. Concrete walls, exposed pipes overhead. Older building. The light source came from the left. A window maybe, but the angle suggested basement level. Casey's shirt was the same one for Monday. $2 million. Marvin's firm was successful, but not that successful. They had maybe $300,000 in savings and investments. The house had equity. Maybe he could scrape together $700,000 total if he liquidated everything immediately. We have to call Davenport back, Audrey said through tears. Show him this. They'll have to help now. They said no police. Marvin's voice was hollow. Marvin, we can't handle this alone. We don't have that kind of money. And even if we did, kidnappers don't just let people go. We need the FBI, professionals. We need Dale. The words hung in the air. Audrey's head snapped up. No, absolutely not. You promised. Our son is being tortured for money we don't have by people who will kill him regardless. Marvin met her eyes. Dale is a professional. A different kind, but he's family. He's the only one who can help. He's a contract killer, Marvin. A criminal. He's my brother. And he's exactly what Casey needs right now. The number Marvin dialed hadn't been used in 6 years. The agreement had been clear after Dale's last visit. The one where Dale had shown up drunk at 2 a.m., covered in someone else's blood, asking if he could crash for a week. Audrey had put her foot down. Dale's life and theirs couldn't intersect anymore. Too dangerous. Too wrong. But some promises shatter when your child's life hangs in the balance. The phone rang 3 times. Then a familiar voice, rougher than Marvin remembered. Took you long enough. Dale, I know. Your neighbor Stephen Blake called me yesterday when Casey didn't come home. Been tracking it since. Figured you'd cave eventually and dial. Marvin's breath caught. You knew. Little brother, I've had eyes on your family for years. You think I'd actually just disappear? Your blood. A pause. Casey's blood too. Tell me everything. Marvin explained about the ransom note, the photo, the police's indifference. With each detail, he felt something shift. Control sliding away from the terrified father to the desperate brother who'd just invited the devil back into his life. $2 million is specific, Dale mused. Not round, not random. Someone knows your financials. This isn't opportunistic. It's personal or professional. Who wants to hurt you? I'm an architect. I design buildings. I don't have enemies. Everyone has enemies. They just don't always know it. Dale's tone shifted, became businesslike. Listen carefully. Don't contact police again. Don't mention me to anyone. Act devastated but compliant. Wait for their next message. I'm already working the other end. What other end? Finding the people stupid enough to kidnap a Meade's kid. Give me 8 hours. The line went quiet for a moment. Marvin, Casey will be home before dinner tomorrow. And these people will never hurt anyone again. Dale don't. But his brother had already hung up. Marvin stood in his home office, staring at his phone, feeling like he'd just triggered something irreversible. In trying to save his son, he might have unleashed something worse than the kidnappers themselves. Audrey appeared in the doorway. What did he say? That Casey will be okay. And the people who took him? Marvin met her eyes. That they won't know what hit them. Dale Meade arrived at Marvin's house at midnight, driving a nondescript gray sedan that probably wasn't his. He looked different than 6 years ago, leaner, harder, with scars Marvin didn't remember. His brother had always been the wild one, but now he carried himself with predatory stillness. They sat in Marvin's home office while Audrey reluctantly made coffee. She'd agreed to Dale's involvement out of desperation, not trust. "Talk me through your life," Dale said, pulling out a tablet. "Clients you pissed off, business rivals, anyone with a grudge." "I told you, I'm an architect, and I'm a consultant." Dale's smile held no warmth. "We both use euphemisms, but my job taught me everyone is dirt. Projects that went wrong, deals that soured." Marvin thought hard. "The Morrison Tower. It's a major contract, $50 million development. 3 firms bid. We won, the others didn't take it well." "Names." Johnny Mahoney's firm was the favorite. "He's been in Portland commercial architecture for 20 years. Has connections I don't." When we landed Morrison, he made some threats. Dale's eyes sharpened. "What kind of threats?" "Nothing like this. Just said we'd regret undercutting him. Implied he'd badmouth us around town." Marvin shook his head. "But kidnapping? Over contract? That's insane. Insane pays well in my industry." Dale scrolled through his tablet. "Johnny Mahoney, 56, twice divorced. Firm's been struggling since 2020. Morrison Tower would have saved him." He looked up. "Desperate men do desperate things. Even if it's him, how do we find Casey? We don't have the ransom." "You're still thinking like a civilian." Dale stood, pacing. "They don't want the money. They want revenge. The ransom is just the framework, which means they'll kill Casey regardless of payment because he's seen their faces." The bluntness hit Marvin like a punch. "Then what? So we don't play their game. We play mine." Dale pulled up a map on his tablet. "I made some calls. 3 separate sources confirmed Mahoney's been asking around about mercenary work, the criminal kind. He's connected to an enforcer named Ricky Ray, lowlife who specializes in intimidation, kidnapping, off-book debt collection." "How did you find this in 8 hours?" Dale smiled grimly. "I know people who owe me. Violently. Ricky Ray operates out of an old warehouse district near the docks. For locations he's used before. I've had eyes on them since yesterday." Marvin felt something cold settle in his stomach. "You've been planning this since Stephen called you." "I don't plan. I execute." Dale zoomed in on one warehouse. This one shows recent activity. Power usage spiked 3 days ago. Someone's running generators. "That's where I'm hitting tonight." "We're hitting tonight," Marvin corrected. Dale shook his head. "You're a father, not an operator. You'll get Casey killed. He's my son." Marvin's voice was steel. "I'm not sitting here drinking coffee while you storm a warehouse. If you're going, I'm going." The brothers stared at each other. Finally, Dale nodded. "You follow my lead. You do exactly what I say. And if I tell you to run, you run." "Understood. Understood." "Good." Dale checked his watch. "Gear up. We move in 2 hours." The warehouse district was a graveyard of Portland's industrial past. Rusting structures loomed against the cloudy night sky. Chain-link fences half-collapsed around forgotten lots. Dale parked 3 blocks away, then equipped Marvin with a Kevlar vest and earpiece. "Your backup," Dale explained, loading weapons with practiced efficiency. "You stay at the entrance, eyes on exits. Someone runs, you report position. You don't engage. Clear. Clear. If shooting starts, hit the ground. I'll handle it." Dale met his eyes. "Your job is to bring Casey out when I give the signal. Nothing else matters. Not revenge, not justice. Just Casey." They approached on foot, using shadows and abandoned equipment for cover. Dale moved like smoke, and Marvin found himself mirroring his brother's movements, surprising himself with remembered skills from their childhood. The 2 of them sneaking out, stalking through woods, learning to be invisible. The warehouse matched the photograph's background. Concrete walls, age structure, windows darkened. A single vehicle was parked outside, a van with primer splotch panels. Dale photographed the license plate, then signaled Marvin to position. "North entrance," Dale whispered through the earpiece. "Stay low, stay quiet. I'm going in the service door." Marvin watched his brother disappear around the corner. Minutes stretched. His heart hammered so hard he was sure it would give him away. Then he heard it. A muffled shout cut off. The sound of impact. Breaking glass. Contact. Dale's voice crackled. 3 hostiles. 1 down, 2 engaged. Casey's not here. Marvin's blood ran cold. What? It's a trap, Marvin. Get out. The van's side door slid open. A figure emerged, pointing a gun directly at Marvin. Don't move, or your brother dies too. Marvin froze. The gunman was young, maybe late 20s, with nervous eyes and shaking hands. Not a professional. That made him more dangerous. Inside, the gunman ordered. Slowly. As Marvin entered the warehouse, he saw Dale on his knees, gun to his head, held by a massive man with prison tattoos. Ricky Ray, presumably. A third man lay motionless near overturned crates. Dale's handiwork before the tables turned. And, standing behind them all, holding a phone like a trophy, was Johnny Mahoney. The architect looked different than his professional headshots. Unshaven, eyes wild with desperation and triumph. The famous Meade brothers, Mahoney sneered. The builder and the killer. Touching family reunion. Where's my son? Marvin's voice was steady despite the gun trained on him. Safe. For now. Mahoney pocketed his phone. Did you really think I wouldn't anticipate your pet psychopath getting involved? Stephen Blake's been very chatty with his new drinking buddy at Murphy's bar. Turns out that buddy works for me. The moment he called Dale, I knew you'd come. Dale spoke through gritted teeth. You're dead, Mahoney. You just don't know it yet. Big words for a man about to be buried in the Columbia River. Mahoney turned to Marvin. Here's what happens next. You wire $1 million, half the ransom, to an account I'll provide. Then you sign over the Morrison Tower contract. You'll claim health reasons, recommend my firm, and maybe, just maybe, you see Casey again. You're insane, Marvin said. Even if I do all that, you'll kill us anyway. Probably. Mahoney shrugged. But you'll definitely die if you refuse. At least this way you have hope. That's when Marvin noticed something. Dale's eyes weren't on Mahoney or the guns. They were fixed on a point above and behind Ricky Ray. Following his gaze, Marvin saw pipes running along the ceiling. Old steam pipes, probably corroded, definitely unstable if impacted. Dale caught Marvin's understanding. The smallest nod. You're right, Marvin said loudly, drawing Mahoney's attention. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't hurt my son. As Mahoney smiled, savoring victory, Dale moved. His hand shot out, grabbed Ricky Ray's gun arm, twisted. The gun discharged, deafening in the enclosed space, but the bullet went high, exactly where Dale intended. It struck the steam pipe dead center. The pipe exploded with decades of built-up pressure. Superheated steam erupted, filling the space with scalding fog. Ricky Ray screamed as it hit him directly. The nervous gunman panicked, firing blindly. Dale was already moving, using the chaos like a weapon. Run! Dale's shout cut through the confusion. Marvin ran, but not toward the exit. He tackled the nervous gunman as another shot went wild, wrestling the weapon away. Training he didn't know he had kicked in, or maybe it was just desperation and adrenaline. The gun clattered away. Marvin's fist connected with the man's jaw, once, twice, until he went limp. Through the thinning steam, Marvin saw Dale finishing Ricky Ray with brutal efficiency. Mahoney was running for the exit, phone in hand. He's getting away, Marvin shouted. Let him, Dale replied calmly, checking the unconscious men for weapons. He's not going far. Back at Marvin's house, Audrey nearly collapsed seeing them return bloody but alive. Dale cleaned up in the guest bathroom while Marvin explained what happened, leaving out the most violent details. Casey wasn't there. Audrey repeated, voice hollow. Then where is he? Dale emerged, looking almost respectable in borrowed clothes. With someone else. Mahoney's not running this operation. He's middle management. The kidnapping came first. Then someone saw an opportunity to use Mahoney's grudge as cover. Who? Marvin demanded. That's what Mahoney's going to tell us. Dale held up a phone, Mahoney's phone, lifted during the steam chaos confusion. Man's got messages here from someone called Kay. Schaefer. Very interested in Casey's whereabouts. The ransom timeline, whether you'd involve authorities. Marvin's blood ran cold. Karen Schaefer. She's a project manager at Morrison Development. I've worked with her directly on the tower plans. Tell me about her. Mid-30s, ambitious, been with Morrison for 5 years. She's professional, cold, but competent. Marvin tried to connect the dots. Why would she be involved? Dale scrolled through messages. Because your contract negotiations included a clause about design rights and profit sharing on future developments. You'd make millions beyond the initial fee if Morrison expands the tower concept to other cities. But here's the thing. He showed Marvin a text. Schaefer had a separate deal with Mahoney. If his firm got the contract, she'd get a kickback and promotion. Your win destroyed both their plans. So this whole thing, the kidnapping, the ransom, it's about a building contract? Audrey's voice shook with fury. It's about money and revenge. Classic motivations. Dale kept scrolling. But Schaefer's smart. She's using Mahoney as the fall guy. He thinks they're partners. She's actually setting him up to take the entire blame while she disappears with the ransom, if you'd paid it. Where's Casey? Marvin asked again. Dale found what he was looking for. Address here. A property Schaefer inherited from her father. Cabin in the mountains, off-grid, no neighbors for miles. That's where she's holding him. Probably figure Mahoney would botch the warehouse play, get arrested or killed, and she'd still have leverage with Casey hidden away. Then let's go. Marvin grabbed his jacket. Not yet. Dale held up a hand. She doesn't know we have Mahoney's phone. She doesn't know her plan failed. So we use that. Use it how? Dale's smile was predatory. We make her come to us. Dale's plan was elegantly vicious. Using Mahoney's phone, he sent messages to Karen Schaefer confirming the warehouse went smoothly. The Meade brothers were handled, and arrangements were being made to dispose of evidence. He requested an in-person meeting to split the proceeds and release the kid. Schaefer's response was cautious but greedy. She suggested a public location, a parking garage downtown, mid-level, enough witnesses for safety, but enough shadows for discretion. She's scared, Dale analyzed. Scared means sloppy. We can work with that. They brought in Stephen Blake, the neighbor who'd inadvertently been Mahoney's information source. Stephen was horrified learning his casual mentions of Casey's disappearance had been weaponized and volunteered to help however he could. You're about my build, Dale told Stephen. You'll wear Mahoney's jacket, meet Schaefer, keep her talking. We'll have audio. The moment she confirms Casey's location, confirms her involvement, we move. This is insane, Audrey protested. What if she brings backup? What if she shoots him? Then I shoot back, Dale said simply. This ends tonight, Audrey. One way or another. Stephen wore a wire and Mahoney's distinctive leather jacket. Marvin and Dale positioned themselves at different points in the parking garage, invisible among the cars. Dale carried enough weaponry to start a small war. Marvin held a gun Dale had given him with a 10-minute crash course, hoping he wouldn't need to use it. At 11 p.m., Karen Schaefer arrived in a luxury sedan that screamed embezzlement. She was exactly as Marvin remembered. Striking features, designer clothes, an aura of controlled ambition. But tonight, her eyes held something else. Desperation masked as confidence. Stephen approached as coached, keeping his face partially hidden. Took you long enough, he said, mimicking Mahoney's gravelly voice. Where are the bodies? Schaefer asked immediately, no pleasantries. In the river. Like we discussed. Now where's my cut? Schaefer pulled out an envelope. Half now, half when the kids confirm dead and Morrison signs with your firm. Through the earpiece, Marvin heard Dale's sharp intake of breath. Confirmed dead. Casey was alive, but wouldn't stay that way under Schaefer's plan. About the kid, Stephen ventured. Maybe we don't need to. He's seen too much. I explained this, Johnny. Schaefer's voice hardened. Your sentimentality is what got you divorced twice. The cabin's isolated. It'll look like a tragic accident. Runaway teen gets lost in the woods, exposure, animals. Very sad. You cold bitch, Stephen said, breaking character. Schaefer's eyes narrowed, then widened in recognition. You're not. Dale appeared from behind a concrete pillar, gun trained on her. Move and you die. Schaefer froze, calculating. Her hand drifted toward her purse. I'm unarmed. You're a liar. Dale closed the distance, kicked the purse away. A small pistol skittered across concrete. Casey's location. Now, I want immunity. I'll testify against Mahoney. Marvin stepped into view. You kidnapped my son, held him for 3 days, planned to murder him. You think there's any deal that saves you? Recognition flashed across Schaefer's face. Marvin? But they said. She glanced at Stephen, realization dawning. The warehouse was a trap. My trap, Dale corrected. Mahoney's singing to the FBI right now. Ricky Ray's in intensive care. You're done, Miss Schaefer. Question is whether you die here or in prison. I prefer here, quicker, cleaner. My brother, though, he's got this annoying conscience about killing women in parking garages. I have money, Schaefer said quickly. Offshore accounts. 3 million. You can have it all. I want my son. Marvin's voice could cut steel. Tell me where he is, and you live to see a courtroom. Stay silent, and my brother doesn't miss. Schaefer looked between them, doing the math. She was trapped, and she knew it. Finally, she gave the address, the same one Dale had found on Mahoney's phone, confirmation they needed. He's locked in the basement, chained but alive. Food and water for 5 days. She met Marvin's eyes. I wasn't going to kill him until after you paid. I'm not a monster. Yeah, Dale said. You are. He zip-tied her hands as Marvin called Detective Davenport, explaining just enough to get the detective's attention and the FBI involved. By the time police arrived, Schaefer was secured, and the Meade brothers were gone, racing toward the mountains to bring Casey home. The cabin was a dilapidated structure clinging to a mountainside, accessible only by a winding dirt road Dale's sedan barely navigated. Dawn was breaking as they arrived, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it felt like the final level of a nightmare. Dale went in first, systematically clearing rooms. Marvin followed, heart in his throat, terrified of what they'd find. The basement door was padlocked from the outside, a detail that made Marvin's blood boil. Casey, he shouted, pounding on the door. Casey, it's Dad. A muffled response from below. Alive. He was alive. Dale shot the padlock off. They descended into musty darkness, Marvin's flashlight beam cutting through shadows until it found him. Casey, chained to a support beam, face bruised but eyes bright with recognition and relief. Dad! Casey's voice cracked. You actually found me? Marvin crossed the distance in 3 strides, pulling his son into an embrace that probably hurt Casey's ribs, but he didn't care. I've got you. You're safe. You're safe. Dale made quick work of the chains with bolt cutters from his kit. Casey staggered, standing up, 3 days of limited movement taking their toll. He looked at Dale, recognition dawning. Uncle Dale, you're here. Wouldn't be anywhere else, kid. Dale's tough facade cracked slightly. You okay? Need a doctor? I'm okay. Bruised, scared out of my mind, but okay. Casey looked between them. How did you? Long story, Marvin said. Involving your uncle's very specific skill set and your father's apparently hidden talent for warehouse brawling. We'll debrief later. Right now, let's get you home to your mother. As they helped Casey up the stairs, the teenager suddenly stopped. Dad, the people who took me, are they? Marvin understood the unspoken question. In custody, going to prison for a very long time. They can't hurt you or anyone else again. And Uncle Dale? Is he in trouble? Dale snorted. Kid, I'm always in trouble. But not today. Today I'm the hero uncle who saved the day. I'm milking that for at least a year of Thanksgiving invites. Despite everything, Casey laughed. Then he hugged Dale, surprising everyone. Thank you. Seriously. I heard them talking. They were going to kill me. You saved my life. Dale looked uncomfortable with the gratitude, but returned the hug. That's what family does. The drive back was quiet, Casey dozing the back seat, Marvin processing everything. As they reached city limits, Dale broke the silence. You did go back there, at the warehouse in the garage. You didn't fold. I had a good teacher, Marvin replied. Remember those summers at Grandpa's cabin? You teaching me to track deer, move quietly, fight dirty. You remember that? I remembered when it counted. Marvin glanced at his brother. You're staying for a while, right? At least until Casey's recovered. Dale was quiet. My life, it's complicated. Dangerous. Being around you puts you at risk. Being away from you almost got Casey killed. Our risk calculation clearly needs adjustment. Marvin's tone brooked no argument. Your family, Dale. Maybe it's time we stop pretending that can be turned off. They pulled into the driveway as Audrey burst from the house. Her cry of joy seeing Casey alive was something Marvin would remember forever. She held their son like she'd never let go, tears streaming, checking him for injuries while apologizing for crying. Casey, battered and exhausted, smiled through his own tears. Mom, I'm okay. Dad and Uncle Dale, they're like an action movie team. It was incredible and terrifying, but mostly incredible. Don't encourage them, Audrey said, but she was smiling through tears, looking at Dale with something approaching gratitude. 3 weeks later, life had achieved a strange new equilibrium. Casey was back in school, attending therapy for the trauma, but remarkably resilient. The photography class turned into actual interest. He'd spent his captivity observing light patterns in the basement, mentally composing shots as a coping mechanism. Turned out fear could be channeled into art. The legal aftermath was satisfying in its thoroughness. Karen Schaefer faced federal kidnapping charges, attempted murder, and conspiracy. Her offshore accounts were frozen, her professional reputation destroyed. Johnny Mahoney turned state's evidence, receiving a lighter but still significant sentence. Ricky Ray recovered from his burns only to face decades behind bars. Detective Davenport, embarrassed by his initial dismissiveness, quietly ensured the investigation credited anonymous tips rather than questioning how the Meade brothers had accomplished what the police hadn't. Some victories were better left unexamined. The Morrison Tower contract proceeded with new security measures and background checks. Marvin's firm's reputation actually improved. The architect who fought to save his son became a local news story, painting him as a dedicated father rather than focusing on the criminal implications of Dale's involvement. Dale stayed. Not officially, not permanently, but he rented an apartment in Portland. Taking a sabbatical, he claimed, though from what job exactly remained unspoken. He showed up for dinners, taught Casey actual photography skills, and demonstrated a gentleness with family that contradicted everything about his professional life. One evening, Marvin found Casey and Dale on the back porch, discussing composition and shadow play. Casey was animatedly explaining his vision for a photo series about isolation and connection, using his basement captivity as thematic foundation, turning trauma into art. Your kid's got talent, Dale said when Casey went inside for more coffee. Real talent. Not just technical skill, vision. He sees things differently now. Trauma does that, Marvin said quietly. Changes how you see the world. Makes you stronger if you survive it. Dale watched the sunset. You surprised me, Marvin. At the warehouse, the garage, you didn't hesitate. You went to places most civilians never access. You mean I learned I'm capable of violence when my family's threatened? I mean you learned you're capable, period. That's not a bad thing to know about yourself. Dale turned to him. I'm sorry I stayed away so long. The agreement we made, it seemed right at the time. Keep my darkness away from your light. But maybe darkness has its uses. Maybe family is about showing up when things get dark, not just when they're bright. Marvin nodded. You saved Casey. More than that. You taught me I could save him too. That I didn't have to be helpless. He paused. But Dale, next time someone threatens my family, I'm hoping your consultation services are available immediately rather than after 3 days of terror. Dale laughed, the sound genuine and warm. Brother, I've had surveillance on your house since I left 6 years ago. Rotating teams, discreet. You think I actually trusted that you'd be safe without me? I just couldn't be here in person. But I was always watching. You've been watching us? Protecting you. There's a difference. Dale pulled out his phone, showed Marvin a photo, Casey at school, dated from last year. Another of Audrey at the grocery store. Marvin himself at a client meeting. I know it's creepy, but it's what I am. A protector. A killer when necessary. Your brother always. Marvin should have been disturbed. Instead, he felt oddly comforted. Thank you. For everything. Thank me by letting me be part of this family properly. No more disappearing. No more agreements to stay away. I'm done hiding who I am. Dale met his eyes. I do bad things to bad people. That's my job. But this, you Audrey Casey, this is my purpose. I need you to understand the difference. I understand. Marvin clasped his brother's shoulder. You're welcome here. Always. Whatever you do out there, and here you're just Dale. The annoying little brother who can disarm a kidnapper and take a mean photograph, apparently. Casey returned with coffees, handing them out. What are we talking about? Family, Marvin said simply. And new beginnings. Casey sat between them, relaxed and safe. I've been thinking about my college essay. The prompt about overcoming challenges. Most kids write about sports injuries or bad grades. I'm thinking I might have a more interesting story. Casey, Audrey's voice came from the doorway, concern evident. I'm not going to write about the kidnapping specifically, Casey assured her, joining them on the porch. More about how crisis reveals character. How family shows up. How sometimes safety isn't about avoiding danger, but about having people who will walk through fire to bring you home. He looked at Marvin and Dale. I was terrified in that basement, but I also knew you'd come. Both of you. I didn't know how, but I knew. That's what got me through. Trust in you. Marvin felt his throat tighten. We'll always come for you. Whatever it takes. I know. Casey smiled. That's the point of the essay. About knowing you're not alone, even in the dark. About family being your foundation when everything else crumbles. As the sun set over Portland, the Meade family sat together. Imperfect, complicated, marked by violence and trauma, but also by love and unbreakable bonds. Somewhere in the city, Karen Schaefer sat in a cell. Johnny Mahoney contemplated his failures, and other threats remained unknown and unformed. But here, in this moment, Casey was safe. Dale was home, and Marvin understood something fundamental. Some architecture was built with steel and concrete, but the strongest foundations were built with trust, sacrifice, and a willingness to fight for those you loved. The Morrison Tower would rise downtown, a testament to Marvin's professional skill. But his real masterpiece was right here, a family that had been tested in fire and emerged stronger, tougher, and united in ways that couldn't be broken. Casey's camera clicked, capturing the moment. 3 generations of Meade strength, silhouetted against a crimson sky, coffee cups raised in silent toast to survival, justice, and the unspoken promise that they'd face whatever came next together. That photograph would win Casey a scholarship. But more importantly, it would hang in their living room. A reminder that darkness could be survived, that family was worth fighting for, and that sometimes the most dangerous weapon against evil was simply refusing to let it win. The brothers' creed, as Dale later explained it, family above all. Protect what matters. Show no mercy to those who threaten your own. Marvin had built a career designing structures that would last generations. But the structure that mattered most, his family, was already complete. Built on love, tested by fire, and reinforced by the kind of loyalty that would face down any threat, endure any hardship, and emerge victorious. Because that's what Meades did. They survived. They protected. They won. And heaven help anyone who forgot that. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.